Hello again and welcome back to another session of Commerce class with me Suman Rathore. Students, this is day 2 of our case study special series and today we are going to cover one of the most important chapter of business studies term 2, that is controlling. So controlling वैसे तो बहुत ही छोटा chapter है, but what we have seen that most of the case studies इसी chapter में से आती हैं. So without wasting much time, let's start doing case studies from the chapter controlling. And our very first question today is, so it says you are production manager in Ramsung Limited. It is reported that postal expenses of your production department have increased by 10% and cost of raw materials have increased by 2%. Which of the two deviations is more critical? Also name the relevant concept or principle you would follow. And this question carries 3 marks. So इस question में first of all you have to identify out of these two deviations, increase in cost of raw material or increase in postal expenses, which is more critical for your particular department. And because you are a manager in production department, so obviously production department से related कौन सा है? Increase in cost of raw material. Because postal expenses is an expense which is paid once in a while. But raw materials production department को every day चाहिए. So increase in cost of raw material is more critical to the success of your department or to the operation of your department, right? So increase in cost of raw material is more critical to your department. Then it says also name the relevant concept or principle you would follow. So here you have to identify the concept or principle they are talking about. And for this, remember while doing steps in controlling, in step 4 analysis of deviation, we have covered principles of management control. There were 2 principles of management control. First was management by exception and second was critical point control. So here they are talking about this second principle, that is critical point control, which is basically concerned with determining the key areas or critical point which are very critical to the success of your department or management and which should be attended urgently by the management, right? So here after identifying the concept, you have to explain the concept in just 2 or 3 lines and this first question is done. Number 2 says, Winpool Limited is a large company engaged in the assembling of air conditioners. Recently, the company have conducted the time and motion study and concluded that on an average, a worker can assemble 10 air conditioners in a day. The target volume of the company in a day is 1000 units. The company is also providing attractive allowances to reduce labor turnover and absenteeism. All the workers are happy. Even then, the assembling of ACs per day is 800 units only. To find out the reason, the company compared actual performance of each worker and observed through CCTV that some of the workers are busy in gossiping. Now part 1 says, identify the function of management discussed above, and then part 2 says, explain the steps in the process of the function identified above. And this question carries 5 marks. So here, first of all, you have to identify the function of the management. Here, they are comparing the actual performance of workers, which is 800 units, with the standard performance, which is 1000 unit. So, वो कौन सा function of management था जिसमें हम standard performance और actual performance को compare करते हैं, deviations को analyze करते हैं और फिर corrective actions लेते हैं. बताइए? Right, ये है हमारा controlling function. So, first का answer आपका है controlling function. And then it says, explain the steps in the process of the function identified above. So here in the second part, you have to explain the steps in the process of controlling. Okay? तो इसमें remember एक वो flow chart होता है जिसमें आप लोग boxes बनाते हैं with arrows and just label the boxes. तो quick वाला एक वो आपको diagram भी बना देना है for getting extra marks. Okay? और आपको ये जो स्टेप्स ऑफ कंट्रोलिंग, हमारे 5 स्टेप्स ऑफ कंट्रोलिंग है, इनको एक्सप्लेन करके लिख देना है और इस तरह से आपका ये क्वेश्चन भी हो जाता है पूरा 5 मार्क्स के लिए तैयार. Now our next question says, Rajiv and Sanjeev are managers in the same organization heading different units. While discussing about the functions of management, Rajiv says that planning is looking ahead, whereas controlling is looking back. But Sanjeev says you're wrong because planning is looking back, whereas controlling is looking ahead. Both are giving reasons in favor of their statements. Explain the possible reason given by both and justify who is correct. And this question carries 3 marks. So here also, first of all, you have to make a statement that both Rajiv and Sanjeev are correct in their own way. And then you have to explain why planning is forward looking and controlling is backward. और इसको आपने 2-3 लाइन में explain कर देना है, like क्योंकि planning फ्यूचर के लिए की जाती है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ फोरकास्ट अबाउट फ्यूचर कंडीशन, एंड कंट्रोलिंग में क्योंकि हम हमारे एक्चुअल परफॉर्मेंस को सेट स्टैंडर्ड्स जो कि हमने प्लानिंग के दौरान अपने स्टैंडर्ड सेट किए थे उससे कंपेयर करते हैं. सो दैट इज वाई प्लानिंग इज फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग एंड कंट्रोलिंग इज बैकवर्ड लुकिंग. ओके, एंड देन सेकेंडली आपने ये भी एक्सप्लेन करना है वाई प्लानिंग इज बैकवर्ड लुकिंग एंड कंट्रोलिंग इज फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग. क्योंकि प्लानिंग हमारे पास्ट एक्सपीरियंसेस के बेसिस पे की जाती है, जो भी हमारा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का एक्सपीरियंस रहा होता है पास्ट में उसी को बेस बना के हम हमारे फ्यूचर प्लान्स डेवलप करते हैं. दैट इज वाई प्लानिंग इज बैकवर्ड लुकिंग एंड कंट्रोलिंग इज फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग. क्योंकि हम हमारी डेविएशंस को दूर करने के लिए फ्यूचर में कुछ स्टेप्स लेते हैं, कुछ करेक्टिव एक्शंस लेते हैं टू रिमूव दोज डेविएशंस. राइट, सो इस तरह से आपने ये दोनों कंसेप्ट को 2-2 लाइन में एक्सप्लेन कर देना है और आपका ये 3 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन हो गया है तैयार. नाउ आवर नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन सेज Shruti has established a small-scale factory after completing a course in textile designing. She has tied up with the big home furnishing retail outlets in the city for supplying to them good quality home furnishing products. She believes that controlling without planning is blind. So every time she gets an order, she sets the standards in terms of the number of personnel required, the estimated requirements in man hours per product, the requirement of direct materials, amount of overhead expenses, etc. Whenever the order size is too large, she hires extra worker by placing a notice on the notice board of the factory specifying the details of the jobs available. In the context of the above case, identify the function of management being performed by Shruti. Second, do you think Shruti is right in her thinking that controlling without planning is blind? Explain by bringing out the relationship between planning and controlling. And third, name the source of recruitment adopted by Shruti. Also mention its type. And this question carries 5 marks. So this question is basically divided in parts. Part 1 जहाँ पे कि आपको function of management identify करना है, ये है हमारा कंट्रोलिंग फंक्शन, एंड थ्रू रिक्रूटमेंट ऑफ एक्स्ट्रा वर्कर्स वो स्टाफिंग फंक्शन भी परफॉर्म कर रही है. तो यहाँ पे आपने दोनों फंक्शंस मेंशन करने हैं, कंट्रोलिंग एंड स्टाफिंग, और आपका 1 मार्क हो गया है पूरा पक्का. देन सेकंड है कि कंट्रोलिंग विदाउट प्लानिंग इज ब्लाइंड. सो हियर यू हैव टू एक्सप्लेन दिस कंसेप्ट इन 3 or 4 लाइन्स, और आपका ये जो एक्सप्लेनेशन है दिस विल गिव यू 3 मार्क्स. सो यहाँ पे आपको बताना है क्योंकि प्लानिंग में हम कुछ स्टैंडर्ड सेट करते हैं जिसके अगेंस्ट हम हमारी एक्चुअल परफॉर्मेंस को मेजर करते हैं. राइट, तो अगर हमारी प्लानिंग के थ्रू कुछ स्टैंडर्ड्स ही नहीं होंगे देन मैनेजर्स विल नॉट नो व्हाट दे हैव टू कंट्रोल. राइट, सो दैट इज व्हाई कंट्रोलिंग विदाउट प्लानिंग इज ब्लाइंड. ओके, सो इसको आपने एक अच्छे तरीके से 3 or 4 लाइन्स में एक्सप्लेन कर देना है और आपके 3 मार्क्स भी हो जाते हैं पक्के. एंड देन थर्ड, वेयर यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई द सोर्स ऑफ रिक्रूटमेंट एंड इट्स टाइप. सो क्योंकि यहाँ पे श्रुति अपनी फैक्ट्री गेट पे एक नोटिस प्लेस करके एक्सटर्नल पीपल को इन्वाइट कर रही है टू अप्लाई फॉर जॉब इन हर फैक्ट्री. सो ये है हमारा एक्सटर्नल रिक्रूटमेंट. एंड देन इसका टाइप, बिकॉज यहाँ पे कुछ कैजुअल सेमी स्किल्ड वर्कर्स को एक शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए एम्प्लॉय किया जा रहा है टू फुलफिल द रिक्वायरमेंट, टू फुलफिल द एक्स्ट्रा रिक्वायरमेंट, और उनको वेजेस पे की जाएंगी ऑन डेली बेसिस. सो ये है हमारा डायरेक्ट रिक्रूटमेंट. सो इस तरह से आपका ये 5 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन भी हो गया एकदम रेडी. नाउ आवर नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन सेज एन अटेम्प्ट टू कंट्रोल एवरीथिंग मे एंड अप कंट्रोलिंग नथिंग. Explain the statement with a suitable example. Now this statement is a very important statement from our chapter controlling. Remember हमने जो analysis of deviation किए थे उसमें हमने principles of management control पढ़े थे. So this statement is related to those principles. उसमें हमारा first था management by exception. So that management by exception principle is actually based on this belief कि आप organization में सब कुछ पूरी तरह से control नहीं कर सकते. There are some minor deviations which are in permissible limits. You have to ignore them. Only major deviations should be brought up to the notice of senior management so that necessary actions can be taken and deviations can be removed. Right? So here you have to explain this statement by giving this such kind of 2-3 lines, and then you can give an example also because they are asking for an example. Suppose कीजिए एक manufacturing unit है और उन्होंने ये decide कर रखा है कि if 2% of daily production is defective then it is acceptable. उसको ignore किया जा सकता है. But अगर ये defective production 2% से बढ़ के 10% पहुंच जाता है then it should not be acceptable at all. And then it should be brought up to the notice of senior management so that necessary action can be taken. Okay. Now our next question says, Jaipurwala Sweets is a renowned name for quality sweets since 1935. Now अगर एग्जाम में ऐसे क्वेश्चन होंगे तो हमें तो मिठाई का नाम सुनते ही भूख लग जानी है. चलो आगे देखते हैं क्या हुआ इसमें. Kunwar Pratap, the owner of the Jaipurwala Sweets, was worried as the sales had declined during the last 3 months. हमारे जैसे कस्टमर होंगे तो नहीं होगा ऐसा. When he inquired from sales manager, the sales manager reported that there were some complaints about the quality of sweets. Therefore, Pratap ordered for sample checking of sweets. Identify the step taken by Pratap that is related to one of the functions of management. Also state any 2 features of the step taken by Pratap. So here they have made the question little bit tricky because here they are saying that we have to identify the step taken by Pratap that is related to one of the functions of management. तो यहाँ पे आपको वो पर्टिकुलर स्टेप आइडेंटिफाई करना है. पर कई बार क्या होता है बच्चे क्या करते हैं एग्जाम में जल्दी जल्दी में खाली कंट्रोलिंग फंक्शन लिख देते हैं. हमें पता है कि ये कंट्रोलिंग फंक्शन है बट दे आर आस्किंग कि यहाँ पे वो कौन सा पर्टिकुलर स्टेप है. सो बाय ऑर्डरिंग फॉर सैंपल चेकिंग ऑफ स्वीट्स ही इज मेजरिंग द परफॉर्मेंस, द सेकेंड स्टेप ऑफ कंट्रोलिंग प्रोसेस. राइट. तो यहाँ पे आपको वो लिखना है मेजरमेंट ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस एंड देन ऑल्सो स्टेट एनी 2 फीचर्स ऑफ द स्टेप टेकन बाय प्रताप. तो यहाँ पे आप कंट्रोलिंग के फीचर्स में से कोई भी 2 फीचर्स विच कैन बी रिलेटेड टू द स्टेप टेकन बाय प्रताप ऐसे फीचर्स उठा के आप मेंशन कर सकते हैं. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल आप ये लिख सकते हैं दैट इट प्रोवाइड्स बेसिस फॉर फ्यूचर एक्शन, क्योंकि कभी भी सैंपल चेकिंग करके आपके जो परफॉर्मेंस है उसको मेजर किया जा सकता है. सो वर्कर्स हमेशा अटेंटिवली अपना काम करते रहेंगे, किसी भी तरह का कॉम्प्रोमाइज क्वालिटी के साथ नहीं होगा. देन सेकेंड आप ये भी मेंशन कर सकते हैं दैट कंट्रोलिंग इज अ कंटिन्यूस प्रोसेस, इट शुड बी परफॉर्म्ड ऑन अ कंटिन्यूस बेसिस ताकि आपकी जो क्वालिटी है वो हमेशा मेंटेन रहे, वर्कर्स पे हमेशा एक तरह का चेक बना रहे. राइट. और इस तरह से आप इसको एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं. Now our next question says, Adarsh is trying to reduce wastage of resources in his company. He has set standards for performance of different types of activities and doing his level best to minimize wastage of resources. He has set up good monitoring system which helps him know how the employees are performing according to set standards, and as and when the employees meet these standards, they will be given incentive. He is hoping to pull out a good performance from his team this year. Now part 1 says which function of management has been referred to in the above case, and second says which benefit of this function of management have been highlighted in the above case. And this question carries 5 marks. So here first of all you have to identify the function of management, and in this case we are talking about setting standards and measuring performance of employees. So we are talking about the controlling function of management here. Then let's go to the second point. Which benefit of this function of management have been highlighted in the above case? So यहाँ पे आपको controlling के importance या benefits लिखने हैं which are related to this particular case. So here you can say that it ensures efficient utilization of resources because activities are being performed as per the standards and all the steps are taken to minimize wastage of resources. So this is helpful in efficient utilization of resources. Second आप mention कर सकते हैं motivation of employees because here the standards are clear cut and set in advance. So employees also know in advance that what they are expected to do. Then by providing incentive for good performance, जो quality of work of employee है वो भी increase होगा and they will provide their best for the success of the organization, right? So with this, we have covered all the important case studies from the chapter controlling. And in our next session, we'll take up the chapter directing and discuss some of the important case studies from that chapter. Until then, keep practicing and don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Thank you and goodbye for now.